You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host, Hunter here. Hope you're having a good one so far. I've got a review for this really random comedy that I checked out, but I was really happy I got to check it out for Leia. It's this new comedy called Preschool, which is actually directed by Duhamel, which I was like, wait, what? I believe this is actually the first time he's directed a feature. Oh, I apologize. He directed Buddy Games, which I haven't seen. I heard mixed stuff about, but something I'd check out. But he directed Buddy Games and then Buddy Games Spring Awakening. He also directed a episode of the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, it looks like. But so this would be his third feature directing. And look, like Josh Duhamel, I think he's actually been a shockingly good voice actor. You look at him in Batman Long Halloween, voicing Two-Face. I thought he did a great job there. But yeah, I mean, I'd say he's more associated with the Transformers films, if anything. So going into this, I saw the trailer and I went, okay, this actually looks fun. Let's see what this could be. This could potentially be. And I'll be the first to admit, surprise is the biggest word that kept coming to mind in terms of watching this. So this movie is about Alan, Josh Duhamel's character, and then Michael Socha, who plays Brian. Michael Socha, you're gonna know from This Is England, Bonded by Blood, and Shank, to name a few things. I love his comedic timing here, and I think him and Duhamel work really well off of each other. So they play Alan and Brian, as I mentioned, respectively, and basically we go ahead and we see them raising their kids. Alan and his partner Lauren, played by Charity Wakefield. They have a daughter named Gracie. I can't remember if it's Grace or Gracie. I think it's Gracie. And then Brian and his partner Sarah, played by Antonia Thomas. They have a son named Dylan. And so I didn't realize, and I have a lot of friends that have kids, but I definitely didn't realize until I talked to a couple of them after watching this, the actual extent that so many parents have in terms of, I need to get my kid into a great preschool. I definitely have heard of it, but I don't think I realized the genuine degree of which some parents are like obsessed with this shit. And I will say Alan in particular, him and his partner, they are very well off, so they can afford to start thinking about, a preschool when the kid is, fucking 6 months. But these dads are straight up obsessed with going ahead and getting their kids to a good school, a good preschool. So right out of the box, this preschool that's ran by Mrs. Lawrence, who's played by Fenella Woolgar, she already is giving very hoity-toity vibes, which, granted, if you're running a school like this, you would have those vibes more than likely. But the thing that floored me, $45K. $45K for a fucking preschool. What? Like, when I heard that, oh my gosh, I almost fell on my chair. I was like, how the fuck do you justify $45K? And there is this great visual gag where they have some of the graduates of the school, and one of them is Mr. Bean. I can never think the actor's name. Johnny English, that dude. But I was fucking floored. I was like, $45K. And what's very interesting is the reaction in terms of that figure, because Alan doesn't flinch at that figure whatsoever. Brian is more like, okay, that's not ideal, but I'm going to figure it out. And so their rivalry begins. And what's really what's really fun about this is that Sarah and Lauren are the ones who are being incredibly kind. They're actually excited. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we get to go through this experience with like another family." Like they're already kind of besties. Sarah and Lauren kind of hit it off immediately. It's, as it often is, it's the husbands who are who are fucking this up, and the levels of which Brian and Alan go to pretty quickly, honestly. They're already just, you can tell they're already just competitive. Like both men have that very, that, you know, I'm the head of the household. Like it has to be, you know, my way or the highway. But what's interesting is how it descends into this very ugly look for both of them. It's kind of Father of the Bride-esque in that way. And I would actually be curious if Duhamel used that somewhat as a template. Because rewatching Father of the Bride, the Steve Martin original and then the sequel, it's really interesting how George, at first, you get that he's just going through it, but there is that point where George really becomes nuts, and and you're like, you need to get it together. There's this point where they're playing, not tennis, like pickleball, something like that. So I'll just say pickleball, but they're playing pickleball, and it starts off as kind of a, okay, like we're playing whatever. And then it descends into, no, I need to fucking win this game to prove a point. And the way that the film escalates between Alan and Brian, and to the point that their partners are actively saying, like, you are losing your shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? Seeing how it no longer is about their kids. It really is about just them owning the other dude in this way. It gets really fun. And I guess my only real, I wouldn't even really call it a complaint. I do think that the escalation of which certain things do occur is a bit of a reach. There is something that Brian does involving some science experiments very early on that I just went, dude, come on. I just like, you're a fucking idiot. Why would you do this thing? And it's so early on that I went, well, you kind of, there's really nowhere to go but up in terms of the escalation. So there were just a couple points where I thought Brian's actions were a bit, I don't want to say, like, I mean, unreasonable doesn't really get it across, but I thought some of his reactions to things were just very dumb, to a point that it felt like it just had to be part of the script. You know what I mean? It just almost felt unnatural. So if there is a complaint, there are a couple moments I would say like that. But at the end of the day, a comedy's main job, as I always say on here, is to make you laugh. And I laughed fucking hard. There is a point where Alan has this restaurant opening, in the way that shit just, that whole scene is such a, just look away. It's such a train wreck of a scene, but it's a wonderful train wreck of a scene. There is since I mentioned that this is Duhamel's third time directing, there is a fight in here that Alan and Brian get into that is equal parts funny and equal parts me going like, oh, fuck them up. Because these are two guys who think they can fight but cannot fight. And that in itself is a wonderful joke. But Alan gets one over on Brian in a way that leads to this big fight. And what Alan does to Brian is some fucked up shit. It was one of those things where I went, oh yeah, I would beat someone's ass over this shit. If they pulled this shit on me, fuck you. I dug this. I dug this a lot. And I think a large part of it was that I was just genuinely surprised by this. I always find like it's always kind of hit and miss in terms of like kids humor. But you don't really that is another complaint I'll say is like you don't really know shit about the kids. The kids are there for this preschool to exist in order for them to have conflict. Like the kids are pretty much background players. But I will say Eris Crook, who plays Dylan gets a scene in here that that I laughed very hard at, and the way that Alan reacts to the scene is pretty wonderful. Grace gets to show that she's like pretty much like a gymnastics prodigy, but it's only really like one or two sequences, so it would have been nice to actually, be able to know a little bit more about the kids, since that this is the whole reason why they're trying to get into this fucking preschool anyway. But I really did love where this movie ended up. There are two secondary characters that they did not mention, and they don't have them on IMDb here. So, pardon me. It's I believe it's Rose and Joe, who are kind of have like a Parent Trap-esque subplot in terms of working for the opposite families, but maybe falling in love. And I actually really like that subplot. And where the film actually ends, I went, yeah, okay, I like this. And there's a world where you could go ahead and explore a sequel if you wanted to, but at the end of the day, this was a fun ass time. I rented this, I think, for like $5. Definitely worth a $5 rental. I think this is gonna end up on Paramount Plus eventually, so this would definitely be something I would stream again. I definitely would smoke and have some people over, and like it's a very short. It's also that fun runtime, about like 95 minutes, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. It knows what it wants to be, and I would like to see Duhamel do more stuff like this, kind of more quirky, kind of like dark comedies. Like I said, I didn't see Buddy Games. I'm not sure how those land, but I had a lot of fun with this. So yeah, solid. I'd go B- on this. Yeah, solid B- for Preschool. But I enjoyed this. I had fun. So yeah, B- for Preschool. But everyone, Preschool, what'd you think about it? Let me know in the comments. Gonna have some more reviews coming up here soon, y'all. Not sure for what, because I'm not really sure I'm gonna post this, but go ahead and follow me on socials. You can follow me on Blue Sky at jhunterreelpineapple, or the real pineapple, pardon me, .bsky.social. You can follow me on Instagram and on Threads at jhunterreelpineapple. Follow the show on Twitch at twitch.tv/therealpineapple. And yeah, y'all, we'll have reviews coming down the pipeline for you soon, but stay safe, take care of each other, give someone a hug, give someone a compliment. We could always use more positivity. And never forget, as always, to keep it real.